everybody, and welcome to another Cricut Craft tutorial. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It's a totally free way to help support me, and I really truly appreciate it. Just hit the big red subscribe button. I put out new videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays with the occasional bonus live video. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to make a larger than matte vinyl decal, and in this case, we're going to use it to make a really fun birthday yard sign. This is a 20 by 24 sign, and I'm going to show you guys how easy this is to do and to cut onto your Cricut. So let's get started. In Design Space, we are going to use one of their images just because it's a little bit easier to show you guys, but you can use any image you want. So I'm going to go to Images, and I'm just going to search the word cake because I already tested this, and I found one that worked really, really well, and it was really cute. So we're going to use this cake right here with the pink on it. Go ahead and insert that image. Obviously, way too small right now, but we're going to move it over to the side for just a second. We're going to use a template so that we know that it's going to fit on our sign. So what we're going to do is we are going to unlock our square. And I know that my sign is 20 inches wide by 24 inches tall. So make it 20 inches wide and 24 inches high. Now, obviously, you cannot see this whole thing. So down here in this lower left-hand corner is a little button that you can use to zoom out your screen. You just click zoom out a couple times. Now, I will say that I wish it would let me do just small percentages because you see, if I could just go to like 45, I would be able to see the sign a lot better, but we're going to have to leave it at 25% because there's just no easy way to do this. And don't worry, we'll zoom back in a little bit when we go to move some of these things around. But what we're going to do now is expand our cake, and we know we have about 24 inches tall to work with and 20 inches wide. So I do want to leave a little bit of space for any kind of like mess up that I might do. I think that'll fit just fine. So I'm going to send my square to the back. So just click send to back, and that's going to give you an idea of about how big your design is going to go. Now, on a typical mat, you can cut 11.5 by 11.5 inches or 11.5 by 23.5 inches. So you can see that we are going to go over that with a lot of these pieces. Totally fine. I'm going to show you guys how we can correct that. We don't need our template anymore, so just get rid of it. We don't need it. But we're going to kind of slice this guy up, do some contouring so that we can make it so that he fits on our corrugated cardboard. First thing that we'll need to do is click ungroup. And we are going to kind of pull these pieces apart and just look at them, just so we can get an idea of all the pieces that we have. So this little yellow flame isn't going to need any work to it, so I'm just going to throw it over in the corner. That one you can cut with like some scrap vinyl and it'll be absolutely fine. Now, let's work with these two pieces really quick because you can see these lines in them. These are cut lines. I assume that they must have a purpose for something, but in our case, they don't. So we're going to click on Contour and click Hide All Contours because we don't want those cut lines, and that just gets rid of them. And we're going to do that for both of these pieces. Now, when you click Hide All Contours on your pink, it's going to hide these top three lines, so just bring those back because we do need those lines. Now, what we're going to do is take these guys. So these guys would fit traditionally on a 24-inch long cut, but not right now because of the way they're so spaced out. Plus, this is a huge waste of vinyl. So we're going to go ahead and contour out each line and then make sure that we only are working with one line at a time. So what you can do is duplicate it, and I'm going to duplicate it twice. So we have 3 different things, and that will represent each of our lines. Let's go ahead and start with this one right here. Click on Contour, and I'm going to get rid of the top 2 lines. We're going to go to the second one, and this one we're going to get rid of the top line and the bottom line. And you do this by just clicking on them. And then this last one, we are going to get rid of the 2 bottom lines. What that does is it makes them all individual pieces so that when you go to actually make this, we'll be able to put this on to a piece of vinyl and it's going to save a ton of space. So now that we're done working with that one, we are going to start working with these. Now, we know for a fact that obviously this is going to be way too wide to fit. So let's hit this side real quick. I want to show you over in the layers tab. So one quick way to know if it'll let you cut anything is to look right here. Do you see this little kind of stop, like yield sign? Click on that and it's going to tell you why your project won't work. So this says it's too large and it has to be down to that size. We don't want to resize it. We don't want it any smaller. The first thing that I want to do is duplicate this guy, because I just want to contour off these top lines, because we can absolutely do those by themselves. We don't need them with this big piece of cake. So go ahead and get rid of the big piece of cake by clicking it, put those over to the side, and then we're going to want to contour those lines out on this big piece. So just go ahead and click and get rid of those. Now obviously our cake is still too large, but don't worry, we will slice it out a little bit. But we're going to start with this one here. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to get a shape out and we're going to make a square. And like I said, we know we have 11.5 to work with if we're going to use just plain sheets of vinyl. So let's just make an 11.5 inch square. So one thing you can do is slice out your candle. So go ahead and select both items once you've lined up your square over the candle and click slice. And what you're going to end up with is the candle by itself. So that can be added on later. Let's go ahead and just delete those. And let's see how big this is now. Again, it is still too large, but don't worry, we're going to work on that. Next thing we're going to do is get another square. And we're going to go ahead and again do 11.5. And this just helps so that you know that it's going to fit within your dimensions. So what I'm going to do is put my 11.5 inch square, and we're going to actually cut our cake down as much as we can so that it fits within that square. Now here's the other thing that you can do. Let's say that you do have a longer mat. I'm going to go ahead and slice this out of a long mat size. That way I don't have to piece it together in 4 pieces, but you will need a longer piece of vinyl to do this. So what I'm going to do is find about where I think center is. It doesn't have to be exact. Select them both and click slice. Now you'll see that you have 2 pieces of the cake that are going to go ahead and fit onto those longer mats. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. Now we have this pink one. We're going to end up with the same problem with this pink one. It's too big. So what we can do is we're going to use a shape. I'm going to use another square, and we're going to look at it as an 11.5 and see if it'll fit. It won't. So I want to do another long piece with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock it again, change it to 23.5. And again, this just tells you this is how big you can cut, so it just helps you get an idea. Now, I don't want the seams to line up perfectly, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and slide that over, and I'm just going to slice this so that the other side is the big side and the other side is kind of the small side. Go ahead and click delete on all of those. And now all of your pieces are separated so you can easily cut them. Now what we're going to do is click on Make It so that you guys can see all of the pieces, parts that you're going to need. So I can tell you right now, I can move some stuff and save a little bit of vinyl if I move this over and take my candle and put my candle up here. You can see I saved all this vinyl down at the bottom. Now this guy is way too big. He won't fit with the other one, but you can always see if you can get it to fit by clicking on Move Object, which is up in the upper left-hand corner, selecting the mat you want to move it to, and click Confirm. Sometimes if you finagle and kind of angle things around, if you twist them and things like that, you can get it to fit. In this case, it's just not going to fit, so we are going to move it back to the other mat. So you can click Move Object, select the mat it came from, and put it back, and then I'm just going to put it back straight. Then we have our little candle. Again, this is great for a scrap piece. And then we have our pink cake, which this one did save us a little bit of vinyl here. And then you can see we have this piece. Again, I don't think there's any way that they would both, no matter what I did, probably fit on the same mat. But let's try because it's fun. So let's go ahead and click Move Object. We're going to go ahead and move it over here. And we'll just see if by some off chance, if we flip things around and move things and angle things, if maybe we can fit it. Sometimes, again, you totally can. It just depends on what you do as far as how you angle them. Because angling them has no bearing on what you end up doing with them, because you're still going to cut them out in the same fashion you would. But we'll see if we can maybe fit them. I don't think we can. There's probably no way. It's totally not going to fit. No big deal. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit cancel really quick and just start over because it's just a little bit easier sometimes. So again, all we have to do here is we're just going to move these up a little bit. Just move the candle. Make sure it's not covering any part there. That part has to stay on its own mat. We have our candle. We have our pink with our little lines. I'm actually going to move those a little bit because I find that this makes a little more sense as far as how it's set up. That way I have a smooth piece of vinyl over here. There is the base of our cake, and then here are our cake lines. I'm going to actually move these over just a hair because the last time I did this, they were a little close and it was hard to cut between them. But you can see how much vinyl that is going to save you versus using, like, having them the way they were. They wouldn't have fit. So it's going to always ask you, are you okay with using a larger mat? Which we are. It's totally fine. And we're going to go ahead and click on continue. And we need to connect our maker. We're going to cut this with just the regular outdoor vinyl. I will let you guys watch it cut on all the big mats, and then I'm going to show you guys how I weed it really quick, and then we're going to apply it. First thing that we are going to want to do is to unroll our design, and anything that you can kind of cut off and make a smaller piece that you don't want to like have connected, go ahead and cut that off. Now, while doing this, I had the major struggles. This is not the easiest project and one that I would not consider for a beginner video. But what you want to do is unroll your transfer tape and get it all really nice and long so you have enough space to work with for your decal. And then you're going to want to take your decal, your vinyl, and lay it face down onto your transfer tape. You're going to want to go nice and slow to make sure to avoid as many bubbles as possible and wrinkles. It's not always the easiest. Like I said, this is something that's going to take some practice, but you're going to want to take your time while doing this and laying all of your vinyl down. So once we've done that, I'm going to make sure that my vinyl is going to stick and get some of the bubbles out because I had a little bubble right there at the top. So I pulled that off. It was real easy. Once you've stuck transfer tape down, you can absolutely peel it right back off. It's not a big deal, especially if you have a bubble that's really easy to access. So I'm going to cut it off of the transfer tape roll and unroll it. We're going to use the hinge method on this one. So I am going to first make sure to burnish my vinyl down to my transfer tape. This isn't really necessary with this kind of a decal. This pretty much sticks to the transfer tape pretty well as is, but I'm going to make sure that it's stuck and just sort of check it and make sure we're good to go. And then I am going to place it right back down. I was debating which way to start on this one to make sure that it lines up because the bottom of my decal wasn't fully straight. I needed to trim it down a little bit, which you will see in just a minute. And then I'm going to use the painter's tape to hold my decal down so that I can easily kind of manipulate it and move it around without it stuck to the board. But because I'm doing it that way, I did need to trim off a little bit of that excess transfer tape just so I had some more space to work with. And then I trimmed off a little bit more of the backing, again, just so I could see better and kind of figure out where I wanted to work with my decal. Now, with this transfer method, when you do the hinge method, it's real easy. You just need some painter's tape and it's super, super simple. All I'm going to do is lay my decal down and figure out about where I want it. Like I said, I do trim off the bottom a little bit because I was having trouble getting it to straighten. So you'll see me do that, and then I'm going to lay it down. You pick it up, you cut half of your backing off, and you lay that half down, and then you take the painter's tape off, cut the other half of the backing. I'm going to speed this video up because this did take quite some time. You'll see a few little like mishaps and struggles. Don't worry, that's totally normal. Not everyone is going to get this really easily. I struggle with these larger decals. It's just something that is not always perfect. If you'll notice towards the end, you will see that we do have a little bit of a seam on our cake. I didn't line everything up perfectly, and you can absolutely cover that seam with the same color vinyl if you want to, if it bothers you. Most people are not going to notice it. It's still a nice design. So let's get this sped up so that you guys can see it. So, like I said, you can totally see the seam, and that's okay. Not everything is going to come out perfect. And remember, we are always our own worst critic. So if there is a little bit of a flaw in your design, it's totally okay. Nobody else will probably notice. And again, this is just proof. I'm not perfect. No one is perfect. Mistakes happen. I did struggle a little bit with the transferring and the lining things up, but it was still a really fun project, and I think it came out really cute, and it's going to be very, very noticeable from the street for some of those larger yard greeting type signs. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments down below. I am always happy to answer those for you. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Totally free. Great way to support me. Super easy to do. Just hit that big red subscribe button. I hope you guys had so much fun learning how to make this larger than matte yard sign. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and happy crafting.